All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for attending tonight. This is our second budget forum. I'm John McNamara, Superintendent of Schools. I'm joined here tonight by Anthony Cedrone, our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Stephanie Scolari, our Executive Director for Human Resources and Administration, Carol Ann Winans, our Executive Director for Curriculum and Instruction, and Stephen Moran, our Assistant Superintendent for PPS. Also, I want to thank members of our Board of Education for attending tonight as well. Anthony Greco, our Board President, Jen Perfetti, our Board Vice President, and trustees Laura Reich, Tara Cassidy, and Adam Fisher. So I thank all of them for being here this evening as well. This is our second budget forum. We'll focus tonight, we'll do an overview of the budget, talk about some of the drivers in this year's budget, and then we will also really focus in on our capital projects and give you an update of where we currently stand in terms of capital projects and some of the projects that we have planned for next year as well. And then our last budget forum will be next week. We'll be right back here on Monday evening at 7 o'clock, and the focus of that discussion will be on personnel. We'll talk about some of the staff implications in terms of next year's budget. As always, we try to put out a budget that maintains our outstanding programs for kids, as well as being fiscally responsible to our taxpayers, and that's always the challenge when we take a look at our budget each and every year, is maintaining our outstanding programs, as well as navigating some of the drivers in our budget, and Mr. Cedrone will speak about some of those drivers in a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to Carol Ann Winans. She's going to talk a little bit about some of the outstanding academic achievement, and then also some of the new courses that we have in place for next year as well.
All right, good evening, everybody. So we're really proud of the academic achievements of our students, especially in areas of college level and AP level coursework, but we also are going to see in a little bit their excellent work in the elective fields, in which the students are really kind of taking a look at their interests, exploring them, and figuring out, what are they really into and what would they like to pursue as they graduate high school. So we had 95% of the class of 2025 take at least one college level course, 91% took at least two, 88% of the students attended a four-year college, 95% return for a second year of college, which is sometimes one of the statistics that you don't always hear about. So you hear about how they did while they were with us. You don't necessarily always hear about how they do when they leave us. So this is kind of a really nice point that our children are really succeeding and thriving once they leave the doors of the high school. We also offered 694 AP exams, those expanding from freshman all the way up to our senior year. AP exams administered in 2025, we had 100% of students score 3 or better in biology, English Lit, seminar, Italian, pre-calc, which actually was a new course offering last year, and art and design 2D. We're really excited to announce some of the course offerings that are included in this year's budget. We're looking to expand our UPK program. After a year-long work, our literacy committee has selected a literacy program for our K-5 literacy program. We're going to continue the expansion of our LEAPS and ACE special ed programs. Grades 6 and 7 family and consumer science classes will be including units on financial literacy to meet some of the state mandates that are rolling down. We're going to continue our expansion of our Science Research Academy. We're really excited that that first cohort are now in their senior year, and so they will be eligible for a lot of the national and international competitions, so we're really excited to see how that cohort does. And then we will continue to expand our broadcasting and theater programs.
Thank you, Carol Ann. And then this is just a little bit more detail about our UPK program. You can see how it has expanded over the past several years. Our first year was in the 21-22 school year. We started out with 4 sections of UPK, working till what we're projecting for next year, which will be 9 sections of UPK. We've got some expanded funding that we're anticipating The governor's proposal for the budget was to expand UPK funding. They increase the allocation per child, and they will hopefully continue along those lines in the future. Our biggest challenge as we continue to expand the program has been space, making sure that we have enough space to house the program. We're going to be adding another section at Forest Lake Elementary School for next year, and that'll allow us to add and serve 162 kids, which is great. Some of the financial data, I'm going to turn it over to Anthony Cedrone in a second, but this is, always one way it's a nice thing to see a zero. This is our fiscal stress score. You can see over the past several years, the Comptroller's Office has really given us a good rating here, which says that we've really moved in the right direction in terms of enhancing our fund balance and just putting ourselves in a more stable financial position. And I'll turn it over to Anthony. He'll kind of walk us through the fund balance and a couple of other major drivers in the budget this year.
Thank you. So we put this slide up every year. I know I went through it last week, and basically what it's showing is you have money set aside in these various different categories to pay these expenses. But I think the more important reason that we put it here or to discuss its importance is when you get a zero fiscal stress score, or we go through some of, how we budget and why with all the constraints of the tax cap, having money in each of those categories gives us flexibility, right? It gives us flexibility when there's uncertainty to absorb some of the, increases that are above what the cap would allow us to raise. So that's also an important reason to point out why we put it there, not just to list the numbers. That slide, obviously, and the projected number will change between now and the end of the year, but that's the current projection for those balances. So how do you work within the tax cap when a handful of really large expenses continue to increase year over year, far outpacing inflation and far outpacing our ability to raise taxes under the cap? So on this chart, again, same as last time, just quickly, the inflation rate is the blue line, and the change in Wantagh's property tax levy year over year for about the last 10 years or so, 14 years since the cap started, has been mostly below or slightly above, but you see that we're mostly below CPI, 11% below inflation rate since 2013. So although there's some ups and downs in there, overall the tax levy has been far below CPI over that period of time. This is a visual, right? If you were a little kid when they launched you off of a seesaw, like this happened to me, or I probably did it to my sisters, but we should be getting launched off of that side with all these other expenses stacked up and stacked up and stacked up. And if you add up all of those numbers, you would reach a total that, again, far exceeds just in those items the amount of money that the tax cap allows the tax levy to go up each year. This year, our mandated tax cap limit is 3.48. And again, if you did the math on those items, transportation, salary increases, health insurance, debt service, liability insurance, are far greater than what that 3.48% allows. So it definitely is a challenge year over year, but it's been that way since I think the tax cap started in varying degrees. Last slide, if you're interested, last slide. 2 weeks ago when I did this slide, there are a bunch of other charts that have some more visuals and some more details on these three particular items that have seen tremendous increases over the last 10 years. This is just a summary, since tonight we wanted to leave some time to focus more on capital projects. But health insurance, transportation, and liability insurance have gone up almost double, all of them, in the past 10 years. So you can see an average of almost 8% and 10% a year on each of those over the last 10 years. So in terms of real dollars, that probably was about $8 million or so on health insurance. That's now 14.5. Transportation was probably about 2.6, 2.7. That's now projected at 5.5. And liability insurance was probably about $400,000. That's now pushing 9. And there's a whole slew of various reasons that cause all of that. CPI inflation is baked into all these, as well as are other factors in each one of those particular industries. I think what I failed to mention 2 weeks ago was, you say, all right, so you have all of this stuff and we still have a tax cap and we've been at the cap, last couple of years. How do you make that happen? So we don't just roll over and accept these increases as much as we wish they were smaller. So in health insurance over the last 10 years, through contract negotiations, employees will pay more towards the health insurance. I'm constantly looking for alternatives that employees might be interested in, that might be cheaper for us and cheaper for them, that have relatively the same coverage. That's a difficult challenge because at the end of the day, NYSHIP has to, our current health provider has to approve the options that you're allowed to put up against them because they don't want competition against their program. So it's a bit of a challenge, but we do, turn over rocks and look for ways to try to manage that cost. Transportation is all about utilization, combining routes, bus stops. How do we get fewer buses and get the same number of kids here all the time? That's how you save money there. Liability insurance, again, much like you might do at home. You manage deductibles, you tweak coverages a little bit. So we're constantly looking at those things just in these three particular areas to manage the year over, 10% a year on average increases that come in these particular categories. That's those items just more graphically because this is a mess, right? So I kind of like to just point out that the red line is our tax levy, the yellow line is inflation. The tax levy looks almost flat. We know that it's not. It looks flat because it's graphed against all these other crazy swings. That's probably about 2.5% a year over all of those, I'd say 10 years. And health insurance, transportation, and liability insurance are all of the other color lines in there. So when you say it goes up 10% a year, even if it did, it's not that clean. I guess it would be nice if it did because at least you'd say, hey, I'm going to get 10% a year, but it's not. You get wild swings up, and you get wild swings down, and then you get wild swings back up. So it definitely makes it a challenge. In terms of proposed budget, so draft version number 1, this is the same as last year. I keep saying last year. 2 weeks ago, we continue to have conversations to work through the number. The target number is the final budget number and tax levy number that would get the budget within the cap. So that's what we're working towards. I also think it's important maybe to note that sometimes people see the tax levy cap, the 3.48%, whatever it is in any given year, 2.5, 2.7, 3.4, and think, how come we always go to the cap, right? The previous slides show you we're not at 0 and say, gee, let's just go to 3.4. We start off way higher than that and have to get down to the cap as we manage all of the other items that need to get baked into the budget. So I think that's important as well. State aid for next year is estimated just about $23.5 million and is about 23% of the budget. So the other 75% or so is what ends up on the tax levy. There is an increase in that year over year of a couple of percentage points in the state aid from this year to next. Obviously, that increase helps offset some of the expenses that we pick up, but it's certainly not enough. It's not all of it. And the Assembly and Senate, usually we say every time this year, they're still working through their process. Governor puts out a proposal. Senate and the Assembly go through their versions of that. Then everybody kind of sits in a room and hashes it out. It's supposed to be done by April 1st. Some years it is, some years it isn't. If it's not done in the next couple of weeks, we'll have to run with that number because that's the best information we have right now. Back to you.
Thank you, Anthony. And then we put this slide in. We spoke to this last week just to kind of share with you how we stack up against other similar sized districts. So this slide shows you based on school size, schools in Nassau County, the 5 schools that are just larger than us and 5 schools that are just smaller than us. And it's the cost per pupil. If you just strictly take their budget and divide by the number of students, this would be the per pupil cost to run the district. And you can see where we stand. Wantagh would be at $32,000, just a dollar under $400. And comparatively to districts our size, that would be the lowest level of funding. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot in terms of difference, right? But if you look at Plain Edge, for example, right, which is about $2,000 more, that would be the next district up from us in terms of per pupil spending of similar size. If you equate that into dollars in the budget, the extra $2,000 per child, it's about $5.5 million in our budget. So we would have $5.5 million more in our budget if we spent to that level of spending. And you take that all the way up, up towards the top where you'd be pushing, Lynbrook, kind of middle of the road. That would equate to almost $16 million more in our budget if we spent at that level. Right? So just in terms of being, managing from a perspective of being fiscally responsible, I think the quality of services that we provide for the cost is at a really high value here in Wantagh. And that's really just what we wanted to highlight with this slide as well. Some capital projects. All right, so we'll shift gears and kind of talk a little bit about some of the capital projects. These are some of the projects that we had going on throughout the year this year, starting in the summer, late spring and summer. We have three different buckets that we talk about in terms of funding. One is through our capital reserve. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Another is directly through the budget, through a transfer to capital. And then the third one is the bond work that we have going on. We had the bond that was passed in 2022, and we have a number of bond projects that are really starting to come to their end. We had the two referendums that were passed, and we're in the process of really wrapping those up. And by the end of this summer of 2026, the vast majority of that work is going to be complete. So we're in really good shape there. Rob Lovergene is with us tonight. I just want to thank him and his department for all the work they've done in managing. He's just wrapping up his first year, and we've kept him very busy. So they've done a great job of really staying on top of all these projects. Capital reserve projects, we did some door replacements, security camera upgrades. That was at the secondary complex. We're now going to shift gears to do some of that security work at the elementary complex. We did some ceiling replacements, and we did a significant section of roof over at Wantagh L as well. You can see in the transfer, we did some of the flooring replacements here across the colonnade over at the middle school, and we completed our implementation of our district-wide phone replacement, which we did. In every classroom now, we have phones that can dial out, which was not the case in the past. Bond project, the biggest lift this summer was all the HVAC work that we had going on. We replaced every single unit ventilator here at Wantagh High School and at Wantagh Elementary School, all done within the constraints of the summer. And then we've been doing it on a rolling basis at Forest Lake, Mandalay, and now here at the middle school as well. So all that is moving along, and we anticipate Forest Lake, Mandalay, and the middle school to be done by the end of the summer. The new system is heating and cooling, so every classroom, every instructional space will have central air as well to a new heating system. And window replacements. We started that project here at the high school. We've done a good portion of that. And if you look kind of on the west side of the building over by the tennis courts, we've done a large portion of that as well as the front of the building. We've been doing it on a rolling basis at Mandalay and at Forest Lake. We've been doing a couple of classrooms at a time throughout the school year. Once again, completing that project, we're doing the HVAC work and the windows and actually replacing exterior walls as we do that work. And then the kitchen and cafeteria upgrades. We've done right across the hall from where we are tonight. Beautiful new cafeteria for the high school, and then all the serving lines and upgrades that we did in our kitchens at the other schools as well. And then bathrooms. Did a number of bathroom renovations. Part of the bond work we did a couple of years ago where we focused on the high school, middle school, Wantagh L. We shift gears to Forest Lake this summer. We did 16 classroom bathrooms that were fully replaced over at Forest Lake. And then we'll shift gears to Mandalay to get some of those bathrooms done this summer. So really making a lot of progress across all these three different buckets. And these are just some of the, highlight some of the pictures. This is the new cafeteria. You can see the new serving lines in the elementary schools. These are the new bathrooms at Forest Lake. Classroom bathrooms came out great. We reconfigured the way those are. Now it's a one individual bathroom in every single classroom. This was the new broadcasting space that we did, and that was an in-house project that was done with our facility staff. They did a great job to support our new broadcasting class. And then our in-house staff also did a brand new life skills space this summer. They did an outstanding job, and that was right here at the high school. And then this was the roof work. You can see the large section of roof that was done at Wantagh L. We have a new in-house painter that started with us over the summer. Has done an outstanding job. Painted every hallway in the middle school. He's now done lots of work in other buildings. He's now over at Forest Lake doing some work over there as well. And then we also replaced 20 classroom floors at the middle school over the summer. So it was busy. This is just what the kind of before, during, and I'll show you the after of really Forest Lake and Mandalay. You can see what the exterior walls typically look like. Strip those out completely. You can see the air conditioning unit in there and the old unit ventilator. And then this is what the new exterior looks like with the brickwork. Really looks fantastic. And then all the new windows that were installed, as well as the new unit ventilators, once again with heating and cooling within them. So these were the projects. I highlighted a bunch of these already in referendum 1 from the bond from 2022. And like I said, by the summer, end of the summer, we'll probably see the vast majority of this complete. A big part of this work, though, too, that I didn't touch on was all the electrical upgrades. We've done a tremendous amount of that, and I just did over the February break a big piece of that and bringing the new transformers online as well. And then this was in referendum number 3. We did the cafeteria renovations, the bathroom renovations. We'll be shifting gears over to Mandalay this summer to do some bathroom work, and then the high school library renovation in this space in here. We're going to be connecting those spaces, and that'll be done this summer as well. So really, by the end of the summer, referendums 1 and 3 will be near completion. And this is just the renderings of what it'll look like at the high school library and this space as well. We have a couple of projects that we're proposing as part of the capital reserve for 26-27. Some roof work here at the high school, the auditorium HVAC project. Our cooling system in the high school auditorium is on its last legs, as well as field lights for the high school turf field. So those would be 3 of the big projects out of the capital reserve that we'll put out to the community. And then within the transfer to capital, some smaller projects, but still some important ones. We're looking to we have a lack of parking over at Wantagh. We're looking to expand that northern parking lot. Some classroom renovations at Wantagh and at the middle school, as well as some additional flooring. The gym floors we do every year, but that's part of this transfer as well. New lift in the high school automotive class, and then some asphalt work at Wantagh High School as well. We're also, we had a really nice response from the community for joining our Capital Improvements Committee. That's a committee that's going to start meeting next month and really kind of taking a look at, okay, as we're completing the bond work from 2022, what's the next phase of work going to look like? So we're going to look to create another committee to evaluate referendum number 2, which was not approved by the voters, which was athletic fields, the district auditorium, our elementary playgrounds. Those are 3 of the really big items in there, and see what we can do to get some of that work done as well. And also look at some of the other projects that we weren't able to complete that since we went out for bonds and started this work in really the 2021 school year. Other things that now need to be completed in terms of some additional roofs and other items that we want to get caught up on as well. So we'll take a look at all of these pieces, and then the committee will make some recommendations to the board in terms of what the next steps should be. So in terms of what the budget vote will look like, 3 items. I've touched on 2 of them so far. One is just the budget itself. The second one is the expenditure I highlighted out of the Capital Reserve Fund. And the third one is for the potential sale for Beach Street, 1865 Beach Street, which is the original schoolhouse. It's kind of gone past its useful life for us. We had leased that building for many years. That lease has expired, and it needs a significant amount of attention, really too small to meet the needs of any of our programs. So we have entertained offers to sell the building. We have one that we're pursuing, hoping to wrap that up this week, and that potentially will be on the ballot for the voters to approve in May as well. And budget, we're really looking to continue all of our outstanding programs and stay within the tax cap while we do it. I thank those who signed up for our budget focus groups. I held the first one today. Appreciate those that could attend. And also the link to the budget survey is on the website as well. Another great way to give us some feedback about the budget. If you can't attend a focus group or one of these meetings or a board meeting, another great way is just to fill out the budget survey and share your thoughts on the budget. The next meeting will focus on personnel, and that'll be on March 30th, a week from tonight. We'll be right back here. And then the budget vote will take place on May 19th. Once again, we'll be at all 3 of our elementary schools. You can see the polls open at 7 a.m. It'll be open until 9 p.m. And if you're not sure where you vote, just feel free to reach out to our district clerk. And we'll turn it over to some questions. Hi, Emery. I was waiting. Are we talking about windows or roofs? UPK. Gotcha. It does not. So right now, our waiting list, with the addition of the 9th class, will be down to about 18 or 20, about 18. So we're about 1 class short of being able to meet the full need here. Yep. In terms of what that translates to when they are in kindergarten versus what we see as the request? Yeah, so usually it's probably, we're typically right around that 200 mark. So, and we're usually in the 170s in the interest in UPK, give or take. So there's probably about a 30 child difference or so. But I think, look, the ideal number for us, at 10 classes, we can meet the need for 180. And that typically, I don't think we've received requests for more than that any given year. However, probably, if you had an 11th class, you're going to meet the need of potentially anybody, if we needed that. So we're getting there. We're close. Yep. I don't believe so, but we do. Yeah, but not required. Yes. All right, just 2. Getting off easy. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending tonight, and we'll see you next week.